which is just off the Upper Malone Road in Belfast. And this building, which is just behind me here, it is the Irish Department of Foreign Affairs actually occupies this building. Now, at Restore UK, well, you all know what we do, and we have in our possession at the minute, we have a document from a subsidiary of the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs, which actually states that these very people, with one of their subsidiaries, what they've been doing is they have been manipulating the outcomes of elections here in Northern Ireland, and also what they have been doing is that they have been causing divisions from within the PUL community, the Protestant Unionist and Loyalist community. So coming soon to Restore, we're going to unfold and show in a conclusive way that this is actually the case, and well, I look forward to Wednesday evening.
Well, hello and welcome to another Restore Live, Restore UK Live, that is. Going out to Restore UK on Facebook, also going out to the British Unionist People's Voice. Again, that's on Facebook, and to the Restore UK YouTube channel, and also to the Restore UK Twitter channel. Now, this evening we're here to deliver something which we've been working on for quite some time. And whenever that we began to scratch the surface and really dig deep, well, what we found was eye-opening to, well, let's just put it straight and say that it was extremely eye-opening. Now, I have to say that the numbers, they're sitting really, really high this evening, and that's, I guess, a testament to the fact that, because of the title of this stream, well, what we're going to do is that we're not really going to hang around for too long. What we're going to do is that we're going to really get straight into this. As you'll have seen there, you'll have seen myself standing just off the Malone Road in Belfast on Saturday morning. And we decided that we would go to a place called Notting Hill, just off the Malone Road, where there is a building that had a name, that had a nickname called Birdie's Bunker, Birdie Ahern's bunker, that was, and it belongs to the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs. Now, we know that that building is used today in 2022 and gone back for many, many years as a place where people can go and they can liaise with what appears to be, on the surface, people from the Irish government, people from the establishment in Ireland. But we just wonder, and this is an open question to everyone, and I'm sure you'll get the gist of what we're talking about as we continue on in this stream. But we wonder, is this building being used to manipulate circumstances here in Northern Ireland that wouldn't be conducive to the ongoing continuation of the United Kingdom? Now, I'm going to present to you something this evening. I'm going to present it in a way that I believe it to be, a child could understand it. And I hope that you understand fully what it is that we're aiming at here and what it is that we're showing. And let's just get something out of the road before that we move on with our stream. You know, in this document, or in this documentary, what we have to do is that we have to show particular things in order that we show that the Irish government have been, I'm going to say, less than decent and less than honourable here in Northern Ireland. Whenever that we show that, whenever that we let you read from some documents, which comes from a subsidiary of the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs, whenever we let you see this, these documents from their archives, from their national archives, and whenever we show you the areas where these people were exploring and hoping to exploit, let's just say, in order to try to derail Northern Ireland into this so-called New Ireland, whenever that we show you this, well, what we also have to do is that we have to show you the repercussions of what it is that we're showing. Now, the repercussions may offend some people from within our community, but I appeal to those people to hear what I'm saying, hear what we are saying, look at the evidence of what we have researched, and to understand that if you have been manipulated by the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs, well, that perhaps isn't a reflection on you. That is perhaps a reflection on the very fact that you think that what you're doing is that you're building peace, you're building reconciliation, you're reaching out across the divide. You're doing that in order to try to create the circumstances in where that Northern Ireland could be a better place in the future. But here's the question: what if the people that you have been dealing with, the people that have been providing you with money, what if, and we hope to show this, what if that those people were only using you and only using you for their expected end, that expected end being a united Ireland, a so-called united Ireland, a new Ireland, in where that you are separated from the United Kingdom, that the United Kingdom is entirely broke up, that globalization has just wiped Northern Ireland off the map, well, and by extension, the rest of the United Kingdom will ultimately be broke up. What if that you have been flirting in a game that would end up seeing the end of everything that you claim to believe in? Now, as we go, what we want to do is that we're just going to get straight into this. We want to impress upon people that we're not here to take anybody down. We're not here to put anybody behind the eight ball, but what we're here to show is that perhaps you have been manipulated, perhaps that those people that you think are your friends from the Irish government and their subsidiaries, perhaps those people are using you as, well, what they think as useful idiots. Now, let me start off this evening by we're plenty of people watching the screen. They seem to be coming from all over this evening, and I'm going to say, don't go anywhere. See this through to its successful conclusion, because this expose is like nothing you've ever seen. Now, in order for us to show you what we're going to show you, I'm going to say that we have to go back. We have to go back to understand that nothing has ever changed, that the Irish state has always been pushing for this so-called New Ireland, that the Irish state have been an arm of the Irish Republican Army, both fighting for the same things, maybe in different ways, maybe using different tactics. But believe me, the Irish state, if you're a unionist, is not your friend and never has been your friend ever since the foundation, that is, of Northern Ireland. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask people to, let's get this out of the road quickly so that we can do this and come back again at the end, and we'll maybe try it again. So here at Restore, as you know, we do a lot of good work. We are people who is advising in the up and coming case against the protocol, which is due to be heard in the Supreme Court on the 30th of November this year and also on the 1st of December. Now, here at Restore, we will be there. We will be at the Supreme Court. We will be video filming and live streaming from the Supreme Court and reporting on exactly what is happening in that, what I like to call the last line of defense. The last line of defense against the constitutional changing, forced, insisted upon EU constitutional changing protocol, which the Irish state is forcing. Remember that. Remember that when you see what it is that we're going to show. So what I'm going to ask to do is that I'm asking people that if you can help our work, there's a PayPal link in the live stream. That would be on the Restore channel, the Restore UK channel, also on the British Unionist People's Voice channel, and also on the YouTube channel. And if you can help our work in any way, please pop a few pound into that PayPal, and every little helps. It will help to take a team from Restore to fight against this Northern Ireland protocol, the constitutional changing EU insisted upon protocol. And we'll be there on the 30th of November, the 1st of December. So that's that out of the road. And now what we can do is that we can actually move on. So starting off with something that I'm going to pop up on my screen here. And what I want to do is that I'm going to flick down this. We're not going to stay on this particular thing for too long. But what I want you to do is that I want you to get a gist of what it is that the Irish government, that one of their subsidiaries, that the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs, who looks after this particular subsidiary, what it is that they have been involved in since the foundation of Northern Ireland. And more recently, on the run up to, well, just after the Anglo Irish Agreement, and well, consistently, these people are still involved in trying to divert Northern Ireland away from the United Kingdom. And this is from the, well, let's just say an army intelligence level. That's Irish state army intelligence level. Now, I have no doubt that there are people here from G2 watching this screen this evening. Well, I'm going to say tune in, enjoy what it is that we have to present. And I have to say that sometimes some things are actually worth fighting for. The numbers are extreme this evening from right across the platforms. I would like to ask people, before that we hit the road with our first expose, I would like to ask that you tag people into the live chat. That if you're new to the channel, if you give us a like, if you give us a love, if you give us a share, if you ensure that this is shared far and wide, because this is probably one of the most important streams that the people at Restore has ever had the pleasure of putting together. So starting off with Exhibit A, item 1 on the agenda, and tune in well. So here we go. So we've got before us a document here from the National Archives in Ireland. Now, the creation date of this document is September in 1986. Now, what we're going to do is that we're going to flip through this document and we're going to go to relevant places within it. And I'm going to explain what it is that our assessment of this document is as we go along. So it says on the title of this document, it talks about political development in Northern Ireland. And it goes on to say about positive factors. And we're not really going to take you through the minutiae of this 9-page document. But what we want to do is that we want to flip down and we want to come to the relevant places. Okay. Again, I'm just going to go down. Now, one thing that I will actually talk about here, and this is item H of this document, which is at the bottom of the page. It says, Mr. Humes promised to speak to Jay Cushnan of the Alliance Party, which, while it cannot achieve any breakthrough on devolution, now this was 1986, they were talking about devolution, will be helpful in keeping Alliance enthusiastic on the pro-agreement side. Alliance leaders do not expect any movement until after the next UK election. So what we can see whenever that we read through this document is that we can see that the Irish government have and consistently are and have been and always probably will be making use of the SDLP to do some things in our society and in a way that isn't conducive to saving the United Kingdom. So we have, again, as we look through this, we're on page 4. We'll not really put our page 3, we'll not pour much weight on this one. And we go on through and we're looking for particular points in this document that we want to really read from. So here we go, page 5. And the heading of this on page 5 is the prospects and possible tactics. Now, this is the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs. This is their document. This is, I'm going to say, a subsidiary of the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs that has written this document. And this is fed in to a system. And just look at the title. The title means exactly what it says. It says prospects and possible tactics. So it says, well, whilst any opening towards talks within the framework of an agreement should be taken up, attention realistically must focus on how to get through a period of inactivity in relation to devolved government. It is understood that the SDLP has not made a push for membership, and what they're really saying here is that the SDLP hasn't excelled themselves in any way. So it says here now, possible measures which may be considered in the next few months include. Now, look at item 1 on this. Item 1 actually is, so possible things that we could do. Item 1 is the engineering of elections. And that's a title. That is a title and a half. The engineering of elections. And this is coming from an internal Irish government document that was only released after so many years in the Irish Republic. And it clearly shows that the Irish government were recommending the engineering of elections. And whenever that we look at how possibly that they could maybe engineer elections, well, it lists a number of ways in which the elections possibly could be engineered. And the SDLP would have played a huge part in this. Now, at this point, I'm going to say something. I'm going to say, who remembers Mike Nesbitt from the Ulster Unionist Party? Whenever he said, vote for the Ulster Unionist Party and get the SDLP. Vote Mike and get Colin is exactly what Mike Nesbitt would have said. Now, I'm going to move on, and we're going to move on to going through this document and pointing out areas in this document that you will see conclusively, and you will see in a way that cannot be disputed, that the Irish government were playing, I'm going to say, less than fair here in Northern Ireland. Then what they were trying to do is that they were trying to derail Northern Ireland, part of the United Kingdom, and in a way that Northern Ireland would be removed from the rest of the United Kingdom. So, going on with what it is that we see in front of our eyes. So the engineering of elections. Now, we're not really going to go through everything that we see here. What I'm going to do is we're going to move on. So it says here on page 6, it appears that the DUP in particular are considering resigning their council seats in protest against the agreement. The agreement was the Anglo-Irish agreement at that time. And if they persist in this, it would suggest confidence on their part in the likely result. Now, because the DUP were insisting that what they were going to do is that they were going to resign their council seats, in part 2 of this document sitting in front of us here, you'll see that the Irish establishment were going to encourage a split between the DUP and what they called the OUP, the Official Unionist Party, which was the Ulster Unionist Party, is what they're talking about. So, as indicated above, this may not result in satisfactory talks. The British thought they were helping such a development in negotiating with the Official Unionist Party, the UUP, over the scale of the Orange Order march down the Gavaki Road on 12th of July. However, it was clear that the British did so because the DUP threat, and the decision rebounded to the credit of the DUP. For so long as the UUP do not have defined policies which are clearly distinguishable from the DUP, doing something for the Ulster Unionist Party will appear as a concession to the more active DUP, if not to loyalist paramilitaries. So here they were contemplating actually trying to do something for the Ulster Unionist Party, to try to, and this is the heading, to encourage a split between the DUP and the Ulster Unionist Party. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong here before that we move on with this document. But surely a foreign state interfering in the democracy of Northern Ireland, part of the United Kingdom, is an act of aggression, is an act of war, is an act of sabotage from a foreign state, because that's exactly what it was. And when it boils down to people in Northern Ireland that have a birthright, a British birthright, to be living in Northern Ireland, to have that birthright respected, why is it that the Irish government were suggesting that they would engineer elections, that they would attempt to help the cause a split between the DUP and the UUP for their own for their own selfish reasons? Now, we're going to follow this document through, and believe me, this is only the start of what it is that we have to show here on Restore UK this evening. So I'm going to ask yet again is to the people at the healthy numbers that we have from right across the platforms watching this stream, if you give us a like, give us a love, give us a share, and tag people into the live chat, because I believe that any person that has an interest in maintaining the United Kingdom, well, they have to see what it is that the Irish government, that the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs, that one of their subsidiaries, namely G2, their military intelligence, were engaged in, causing a split between the DUP and the UUP. Let's move on. Let's move on for a moment and let's try to understand. Yeah, and I'm going to pop this up from Lorna Smith. I think they may have succeeded. Lorna, you know where we're going with this stream when you say that, because we're going to follow through to a logical, not illogical, but a conclusive ending to this stream. And we're going to show clearly what it is that these people have been involved in and how that it is that the political landscape actually is located today. And as a result of, well, this document in its embryonic form being followed through. And, well, we'll leave that for the people to decide themselves. But however, we want to be able to take people on a journey to show people what it is that the Irish establishment have been engaged in here in Northern Ireland for a very long time. So getting back to the stream, just bear with me. So encouraging a split between the DUP and the official Unionist Party, which was the UUP. Now, again, at the end of this, that doing something for the UUP will appear as a concession to the more active DUP, and if not to the loyalist paramilitaries. This is what they were saying. So this is another heading on this document: establishing a more formal consultation arrangements for Northern Ireland parties in respect of a conference. Okay, so they were looking to draw people in from the Unionist community to participate in a conference to see really could they manipulate them perhaps. Now, down to the bottom of this page here, from this Irish government document, this Irish Department for Foreign Affairs document, in where that the military intelligence G2 were involved in manipulating the circumstances, in where the divisions were caused within unionism, and in where that the elections were engineered, in where that they were causing a split between political parties. Looking at the last headline on this page, it says, now this is the most important part of this document in my honest opinion, because this is what will resonate with people when they look at our political landscape in 2022, in October of 2022. And whenever that we hear unionism divided against each other, divided against itself, try then and understand in the context of what is happening here, what was being done by Irish military intelligence. Try to understand how that it is that we have ended up in the position that we're in. So seeking to split constitutional unionists from non-constitutional unionism. Now, I'm going to bring my screen back up again here, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So Here we have the Irish government. Here we have the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs. Here we have the circumstances in where that the Irish establishment, that they're spooks, that they're sneaky biggies, that they're G2, they're manipulators. We're seeking to divide what they seen as constitutional unionism from non-constitutional unionism. Now, what is constitutional unionism? What is non-constitutional unionism, you may ask? I can remember a phrase from Doug Beattie. Now, this isn't an attack on unionists. This is an expose. This is showing people how that things are being manipulated. This is a wake-up call. This is trying to help people understand that perhaps you have been played. Perhaps that you have been manipulated by G2, Irish military intelligence. Perhaps you have bought into their idea of dividing unionism, hook, line, and sinker. Perhaps today in 2022, that you are only following a template which has been swindled into place, which has been manipulated into place, which has been, well, I'm going to say, covertly placed into place. Perhaps that you have bought into this, and perhaps that you haven't got off the pathway that has been laid down for you, and you have unwittingly walked into this trap, this snare. Maybe you have walked into what it is that these people have carefully put into place. Who remembers a saying from Doug Beattie not too long ago? When Doug Beattie would have said that, Doug said that he was a constitutional unionist. He says that he wasn't an economic unionist. Now, I look at this document, and although that it doesn't say exactly that, it really bears the hallmarks of what it was that Doug Beattie had been talking about. Now, again, let me just change my screen over for a second to I get in and look at this document properly. Here we go. So, seeking to split constitutional unionism from non-constitutional unionism. A phrase from Doug Beattie, that I am a constitutional unionist. I am not an economic unionist. Does that what the G2, the Irish military intelligence, what they were manipulating into place in Northern Ireland, does that bear striking resemblance to what it was that Doug Beattie said? That he says that he was a constitutional unionist, not an economic unionist. And let me explain something, people, and explain it very, very carefully for those that don't understand. You see, to be a constitutional unionist and not to be an economic unionist, that really means that you're not a constitutional unionist. Because if you want to hand your trade, the laws governing your trade, to a foreign power, namely the EU, if you want to be an EU vassal, if you want to be split away from the rest of the United Kingdom in a way that you're happy for the EU to govern on laws governing trade here in Northern Ireland, which is the protocol, then people, this is for slow learners, you are not a constitutional unionist. So has Doug Beattie bought into this manipulation? Has the Ulster Unionists, Party, have they bought into this manipulation by the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs subsidiary, which is G2, which is their military intelligence, which have been manipulating the circumstances here in Northern Ireland ever since the foundation of Northern Ireland? Now, we're not going to go back, but our research has shown us that these people have not went away since the foundation of Northern Ireland. They've been constantly trying to manipulate Northern Ireland, and in a way that Northern Ireland would be absolutely no longer. So we're just going to move on to the end of the document. Now, bear with me for a second. Next slide. So we're on page 8. I said page 9. I think there is page 9, but I don't think it amounts to much. Now I'm going to read again from this title at the top of the screen now. And look what it says at the bottom. It says this was from the Anglo-Irish Division, September in 1986. Short, people, this was from the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs, who runs G2 here in Northern Ireland. G2 are the Irish State's military intelligence, which are in Northern Ireland, which have been in Northern Ireland, manipulating the circumstances in Northern Ireland. And we're going to prove this and show this conclusively. But they've been doing that, well, all of my life. I'm nearly 54 years of age now. And G2 have been in Northern Ireland manipulating circumstances for a very long time. Now, I'm going to read from this document, and then we're going to take this document away from our screen. And we're then going to go to some videos, and we'll come back and we'll talk some more, but all on this very subject. So trying to persuade the British opposition parties to remain firm on the agreement in the event of their coming to power. So it says the London Embassy keeps regular contact with members of the Labour and the Alliance parties, and the SDLP also have links. These can continue and be cultivated with good effect. But the most useful event would be an opinion and final poll results showing a clear majority for any of the British parties, none of who would normally wish to abandon the agreement. So you see, the Irish state, the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs and their subsidiary, G2, that is, well, what they have been involved in for a very, very long time here in Northern Ireland is that they have been involved in very many pronged approach to try to divert Northern Ireland away from the United Kingdom, causing divisions here in Northern Ireland, engineering elections, causing splits between political parties, splitting constitutional unionists away from non-constitutional unionists, and manipulating circumstances in Westminster, in England, in where that the people that should be looking after us in the United Kingdom, well, they would absolutely have no love for the people of Northern Ireland. And remember, whilst that the Irish state were doing this, whilst that G2, their military intelligence branch, were doing this, well, their subsidiary, the Irish Republican Army, well, not that they were an army, the terrorist organization, well, they were keeping the pressure on, blowing up your nearest and your dearest and killing your loved ones, and in a way that they used that Irish state tricolour to as a flag, as a motto of their terrorism, which they waged all of my adult life, killing children, men, women, and children, killing Catholics, killing many people, killing more people here in their dirty little conflict than anyone in the history of Northern Ireland. Remember that the G2 Irish military intelligence, well, they were manipulating circumstances into place in where that, well, Northern Ireland, well, it wasn't conducive to working with the British population here in Northern Ireland. It wasn't conducive to helping you save your birthright here in Northern Ireland. So stay tuned, because you haven't really seen anything yet. Now, that was a context that we wanted to lay out. We wanted to lay out that there is the smoking gun, manipulating elections, engineering elections, causing splits between unionist political parties, and dividing constitutional unionists from so-called non-constitutional unionists. And it appears, when we look at things in 2022, it appears that they have done so with great effect. So what I'm going to do, people, is that I'm going to play a little clip. I want to play a video, a short video clip. And the video clip isn't that long. It's about 3 minutes in length. And I really want you to listen to what it is that's said in this video clip. Enjoy, people, and I'll be back very shortly.
Ministers allegedly involved with the IRA. The Taoiseach was forced to act. 2 of his ministers were dismissed and charged with illegal gun running.
Captain Kelly was a Cavan man and loyal and extremely effective army officer.
There's going to be more trouble tonight.
Concerned by what he saw, Captain Kelly reported the escalating crisis to Army headquarters in Dublin.
Captain Kelly was working for G2, Irish Military Intelligence. His boss was Colonel Heffron, and Captain Kelly happened to be visiting his brother in August 1969 when the trouble was brewing. And that was a stroke of luck insofar as G2 intelligence gathering was concerned, because they had now one of their most senior officers in Belfast watching what was going on.
And he became Colonel Michael Heffern's eyes and ears, basically, on the northern conflict.
So that the militancy and the determination to do battle against the northern state was boosted to a very significant degree by a belief created by Jack Lynch's speech that the Irish army was on standby at the border or even over the border and ready to move into the Bogside.
Close to the border, the Irish army was preparing to train nationalists from Derry.
Well, it was two-faced, 2 sides to government policy. There was a hidden policy which had to involve moves to protect nationalists.
The week-long course at Dunree Army Camp in Donegal was approved by Defence Minister James Gibbons.
They took onto the books men from a nationalist background into the reserve forces, the FCA, and took them to the ranges and taught them how to fire weapons.
A number of people who went from the Bogside down into Donegal to be trained in that way and then came back after about a week. And I remember talking to me, he says, "Oh, you should have been there, McCann, you should have been there." Could you assemble and disassemble a Thompson submachine gun while blindfold at night? The circumstances in which this might be necessary are very unclear to me and to many other people. There's that type of thing, and straightforward target practice on how to use the gun and how to use it safely.
But word of the camp was leaked to newspapers, and the gun training was abruptly abandoned. In the months ahead, guns bought with Irish government money will take centre stage.
If guns were for defensive purposes, why were machine guns included?
Those weapons are for point-blank operations in the urban environment, concealed weapons, producing them at the last moment, and
by October 1969, Captain James Kelly was the main link between Irish Army intelligence and John Kelly of the Defence Committees. They wanted guns to protect nationalists in Northern Ireland.
Captain Kelly was a very loyal army officer, and I think that he took risks. I think he was motivated by high principles. But I think it led him into a very dangerous area.
as army officers, each of us swears a solemn oath of allegiance to uphold the Constitution.
At the Baileyborough meeting, Captain Kelly was trying to get the Northern Defence Committees all on the same page. Money was available, and Kelly wanted to know how the Defence Committees wished to use such money.
They wanted arms, they wanted the training in Fort Dunree reactivated, and they communicated all of this to Captain Kelly, who communicated it to Colonel Heffron, who communicated it to Jim Gibbons, the Minister for Defence. So everybody at Cabinet knew that Captain Kelly was meeting with the Citizens' Defence Committees.
There's more to suggest that Jack Lynch was aware of a plan to provide guns for the North. On February 6, 1970, his government issued an urgent directive to the Irish Army Chief of Staff.
This was the most critical time for Irish internal security since World War II. These extraordinary documents were top secret, and it's asking the Chief of Staff very explicitly to prepare and to plan for a military intervention in Northern Ireland.
It was always going to be a dangerous, fraught policy, and the army were frankly shit scared of it.
The directive also instructed the army to have guns ready to supply to Northern nationalists in a doomsday situation.
This was the essence of the hidden policy on Northern Ireland, which was entirely defensive-minded, but could never be admitted, because it would have destroyed diplomatic relations with the United Kingdom.
This government directive from 1970 came to light 30 years later when released to the National Archives in 2001.
A lot of the cabinet who are present say that they didn't know anything about it. Well, they may not have known about it, but the directive was issued to the Chief of Staff by the Minister for Defence with the wording that the government had instructed him.
The Army's readiness to respond was soon put to the test. The flashpoint was Ballymurphy, a nationalist council estate in West Belfast. Fears of a doomsday took hold in Dublin. Neil Blaney contacted Defence Minister James Gibbons, who instructed the army to move weapons closer to the border. A convoy of trucks was loaded with 500 rifles, 80,000 rounds of ammunition, and 3,000 gas masks.
It was the most dangerous moment in the whole arms crisis. Irish Army rifles sent on Irish Army lorries by order of the Minister for Defence, Jim Gibbons. This is the real thing.
They moved 500 assault rifles to Dundalk Barracks. That consists of a considerable portion of Ireland's arsenal. You don't move equipment and material around unless you have a very, very good reason for doing it.
But after several days of fighting, an uneasy calm was restored in Ballymurphy. And those army guns never crossed the border.
If these rifles with full Irish Army identification stamped on them had been distributed to the people in Ballymurphy, it would have raised the most amazing diplomatic furore with the British.
So what you'll have seen there is you'll have seen that the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs, one of their subsidiaries, known as G2 military intelligence of the Irish state. Well, Captain Kelly from that unit of G2, well, you see, what he had been doing is that he had been orchestrating the circumstances in where that people in 1969 going forward were being taken across the border and being trained in how to strip guns, fire guns, how to put themselves in the position whereby, well, we all know what happened afterwards, that they were procuring weapons, that they had been authorizing weapons for different places, some that you just heard there going to Ballymurphy, which didn't actually make it across the border, but yet the intention actually was there. Now let's just try to lay things out bare here, and let's try to understand. We understand that well, and I'm going to show you some more videos which will actually copper fasten what I'm about to say, is that there are several groupings in the Irish state within the Irish Republic, and they're really all fighting for the same thing. They're all fighting for the breakup of the United Kingdom, the removal of Northern Ireland from that United Kingdom, and they're all fighting to remove my British birthright, your British birthright, if you're a unionist. And, you know, I'm going to say one thing, to unfairly enhance one, whilst that you demonize and you diminish others. Well, I'm going to say that reconciliation has never been built in that way, nor has stability of a country ever been built that way. How do you expect to unite anything whenever that you've been involved in underhand dealings like the ones that we're showing you? Now, we showed you that video there, that video clipping about Captain Kelly of G2, Irish intelligence, training the IRA, procuring guns for the IRA. We showed you that in order that you can establish a link between Captain Kelly in the 70s, thereabouts, 69, thereabouts, and the document that we would have shown you from 1986 in where the Irish, the same G2, were seeking to engineer elections, cause divisions between unionist parties, and to split constitutional unionism from what they called non-constitutional unionism. There are a lot of people watching this evening. Again, I have absolutely no doubt that there will be people from the Irish state here watching what it is that we're unfolding. So I'm going to say stay tuned in. Invite more people to this stream because you haven't seen anything yet. Give us a like, give us a love, give us a share. If you're new to the channel, leave a message in the live chat. And also, if you could tag people into the live chat in order that we can get those numbers up even higher. So moving on to the next video. Firstly, we showed you Irish intelligence strategy, which was then later taken on by G2. G2, the military intelligence branch of the Department for Irish Foreign Affairs. Simon Coveney is the head of the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs, and G2 works from that Irish Department for Foreign Affairs. So whenever you see Simon Coveney, and I make no apologies for saying this, you understand that that is within his remit to have these people diverting unionism, manipulating unionism. His counterparts in the past have been engineering elections, causing splits within parties, and also trying to divide constitutional and non-constitutional unionism. So whenever you see that friendly face of Simon Coveney and his Irish Department for Foreign Affairs, what you need to be aware of is that they are not your friends. You know, they appear to be your friends. They might have money, plenty of money, which they're handing out in Northern Ireland right now. But that money, well, let me just say it this way. He who takes the shackles ultimately ends up bound by those very same shackles. Now, I'm not here to attack people that are taking that money, because there are a lot of people that is taking money from the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs in one way or another, under whatever guise or under a plethora of guises. And we're about to continue on and show some of this. But, you know, this is about Restore UK and doing the research on your behalf, showing you what you've become involved in, showing you that your associations with these people can end up losing you, your country, your birthright, your history, your heritage, your culture, and every single thing that you've ever believed in, and some may have fought for. This is about us at Restore UK showing you in a conclusive way that the Irish government and their Irish Department for Foreign Affairs and their Irish G2 military intelligence, well, they're here in Northern Ireland manipulating circumstances. They're not here as friendly people. They're here to try to remove you from your unionism. Playing on.
Everything to us who supported the nationalist position, because Strand 2 said Belfast, Dublin.
And that was Richie Neal. That was an American who's attached to the Joe Biden administration, who is a counterpart of Nancy Pelosi. And what did he just say there? Well, let's just try to understand. He was saying that let's play it again.
And I think that the referendum question, when Ireland gave up claim to the North and the British gave up a claim to the North, was the correct compromise. And the next step that we take ought to be a referendum question. But we've got to prepare people on both sides for that question.
So Richie Neal from the American establishment was saying in an audience in New York, what he was saying was that we've got to prepare people for that referendum. And I'm going to put it to you this evening that what has been happening here in Northern Ireland is that the Irish establishment, the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs, the American administration, the George Mitchell Institute for so-called global peace, global manipulation, I would say, the Clintons, all of that, the Good Friday Agreement, the appeasement process, the Good Friday Agreement, it was a disguise. It was built for appeasement, swindle, and lies. The peace, it's a farce. The IRA guns are still there. And the reality is that London is afraid of another bomb scare. Now, what you'll have heard Richie Neal say there is that that the Irish give up claim to the border in Northern Ireland. What he means is that in the times of the agreement, the Irish, well, what they were expected to do was that they were to give up their territorial claim over Northern Ireland. And the territorial claim was written in their constitution in a thing called Articles 2 and 3, and where that they lay claim to the entire island. But what they were obligated to do under the Belfast Agreement was to give up that claim and to provide the circumstances in where that the principle of consent would exist, in where that there could not be constitutional change in Northern Ireland unless that there was a referendum, firstly, put to the people of Northern Ireland, in where that it would have taken a majority of people to vote for this so-called United Ireland, and in where that there was also a vote that would be put to the people of the Irish Republic. And they would have had to actually vote to accept us. Now, I hear them right now trying to divert what it was that it was agreed to, in where that they're now saying, well, that we didn't agree to that. There only has to be a vote in Northern Ireland. There doesn't have to be a vote in Southern Ireland. Well, actually, that is wrong. And the Irish government were obligated to give up their territorial claim over Northern Ireland. And they were to provide for the circumstances in where, and this is very important, in where that the principle of a consent would exist. When we as unionists, and I was around back then, when we as unionists were sold this Belfast Agreement, we were being sold this so-called peace process on the basis of the union is safe. The union is completely safe because of this thing called the principle of consent, which was contained within the Belfast Good Friday Agreement. Well, it now transpires in 2020, whenever the protocol came into being, the constitutional changing EU Dublin applauded protocol, whenever that came into being, well, all of a sudden, this principle of consent for this item of constitutional change, well, it's not required with this Dublin government, who were obligated to remove their territorial claim over Northern Ireland, that were obligated to this thing called a principle of consent contained within the Belfast Agreement. Have they forgot what they agreed to? This is what they forgot? Have the Americans forgot what they said that they presided over? Now, these are real questions for the people within this entire equation, whether that be the British government, whether that be the Irish government, the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs, whether that be the Americans, the EU themselves. You see, what they are doing is they are making a fool out of themselves. They are riding roughshod over agreements that they said, well, here's what they said about the Belfast Agreement with reference to Brexit, that it has to be protected, that it's an internationally recognized agreement and it has to be protected. But here we have the Irish government not following through on their obligations. We're showing this conclusively. They're not following through on their obligations. They are diverting Northern Ireland away from the United Kingdom. They are insisting that we have a border in the North Channel between Northern Ireland, England, Scotland, and Wales. They are insisting that democracy was not and cannot be delivered to the people of Northern Ireland that voted in that Brexit referendum. They are insisting that the people of Northern Ireland are second-class citizens. They are in dereliction of the obligations under the Belfast Agreement. And yet they still continue to manipulate and to try to twist things in a way that they could have this so-called New Ireland. Ireland can never be united whenever we have people like G2, Simon Coveney's Spooks here in Northern Ireland, manipulating the circumstances in where that unionism is divided against each other. Some of us can see things exactly the way they are, and to the people that can't see this, well, tune in, watch, listen, and learn this lesson very well before, well, if you're a unionist, what's going to happen? You will lose the entire United Kingdom as a result. If you're a nationalist, if you're an ordinary Catholic, well, you will cause the circumstances in where that people here in Northern Ireland could yet again lose their lives. Now, that isn't a threat by me. That is an observation, because I know that there are people in this country that will not tolerate being taken away from the United Kingdom against their will in an unlawful and totally undemocratic way. And again, that is me trying to warn of the circumstances which could follow should these manipulators in the Irish state continue to manipulate things in a way that isn't conducive to reconciliation happening here in Northern Ireland at any point in the future. Now, I'm going to move on. Now, if you bear with me for a second, I am missing a video clip, and there's 3 more video clips to go, and I'm hoping that this will take another half hour. But it has to be presented, and it has to be shown in the way that it actually has unfolded, and in a way that, well, our politicians, I often wonder, do they not see this? Are they happy to play along? I'm not here to knock fellow unionists, fellow Protestant unionists or loyalists, but I'm literally here to show that, well, have you got it wrong? Have you been manipulated? Have you been persuaded by these people that they are your friends when they're not? So looking for another video clip here, something that I haven't got on my stream. If you just bear with me, I'll talk as I go. Yeah, now just bear with me for a second, because I am looking for a little video clip here. Right, now bear with me for a second. I just have to go the long way around. I didn't save this to where it needed to be saved to, but I'll talk as I go. Yeah, here we go. Just bear with me, people. I'm looking for something. See, I had a clip, and I'm going to talk as I go here. I had a clip from Micheál Martin, and I did save it, and I don't seem to see it. I don't know where it's went. Anyway, goodness knows. I didn't bring it across with me. I'm working on 2 different computers, and I didn't bring it across on me, so I can't. So what I'm going to really tell you is that, you know, I was watching a video clip there from Micheál Martin whenever that he was celebrating the life of Wolfe Tone. And in that, he talked about a shared island approach. And he was talking about all the areas in where that what they are doing is that they are amalgamating the island, whether that be in electricity and gas and rail and travel, and, you know, and the list is, it goes on and on and on. And it gives you a huge insight into what it is that these people are doing, whether they're building narrow water bridges. And I'm going to say some of these projects are really good projects, but only if they were not threatening to Northern Ireland as a place within the United Kingdom. You know, they're talking about opening up the old Ulster Canal, which, you know, me being involved in boating from many years ago, I would have loved to have seen that. I would have loved to travel that. But I'm going to say something. I was probably one of the most tolerant people of Irishness, of the, you know, of the South, you know, of the place, you know, the land that is the Irish Republic. You know, there's some lovely places down there, from Sligo down to Killarney, right down that west coast into Cork, right up the other side, Glendalough, some of the places are absolutely beautiful. And, I love the Guinness, the music, the culture, everything. But once that culture becomes threatening, well, I often find myself thinking, you know, they are slowly but surely turning me against all the things that I actually liked and loved about the Irish Republic. Because of what it is that I see that they're manipulating into place. And in a way, that is removing my rights, which is removing your rights. And they're saying about this so-called New Ireland, well, unionists are welcome. Unionists are welcome. Well, they're not doing a very, very good job right now, are they, when they permit their Irish women's football team to be glorifying terrorism without any repercussions, and they're trying to talk it off, persuade it off in a way that, well, there's nothing to see here. Move on. Let's play some more video clips before that we move on. The numbers are still huge. I want people to tag people into the live chat. Give us a like, give us a love, give us a share. If you haven't already done it, leave a message in the live chat. That way it populates what it is that we do, and we get to invite you to your channels for the very, very near future. Now, this is the bit where I have to put a disclaimer in. This is the bit where I'm going to show the repercussions of what it is that the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs have been manipulating into place, what the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs have been paying for from within our community. I mean, the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs is funding lots of things. They're using different subsidiaries, different names, different approaches, whether that be reconciliation funds, shared island funds, all sorts of funds, too many to mention. But watch, do you see what it is that they're manipulating into place? Now, I'm going to say something. I have to show this so that people realizes how deep that these people have scratched into our society, and how that our society is being, manipulated as a result of, well, let me get you back to what was said in that document that we showed earlier on from the archives in Ireland, where it said that they wanted to split constitutional unionism from non-constitutional unionism. In other words, the soft unionism, the Ulster Unionist Party type of unionism, the reach across the border type of unionism, no matter why you're being taken away from the United Kingdom or not. The wishy-washy unionist who doesn't quite know whether he's a unionist, or he maybe thinks that he might want to be, or they might want to be part of this new Ireland that might have socialist leanings. And, well, what is Ireland going to be? And I wish that I had that clip with me, Hall Martin, because what we will do is that we put it on to Restore UK very, very soon. But you see, a lot of these people, they see the airy-fairy side of this socialism, being woke, promoting feminism and all these things that the 32 county socialist republic would look like, would espouse, should there ever be a time whenever unionists are derailed, are manipulated, are coerced, are covertly manipulated into a place where this new Ireland would exist. Well, there's a lot of airy-fairy unionists that would be happy enough to roll over into this tomorrow. But what I want to do right now is that I want to now show something that we would have filmed back in, well, let me just see when it was. It was, I think it was the last Saturday in August. It was the last Saturday in August. It was a couple of days before that. This is a friend of mine from England, a man who is a YouTuber, and we made several videos whilst here in Northern Ireland. And this is a video that I want to play, and then I want to come back and give some context. Now, these are the videos which are going to cause the controversy. These are the videos in where that people from within my community might be offended by what it is that I'm playing. But I'm playing this as an appeal, as a cry for help, as a you know, I hope that you realize what it is that is manipulating circumstances into place. I hope you understand that the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs isn't your friend. I hope you understand that that money isn't for the betterment of you. That money is to divert Northern Ireland's place from within the United Kingdom. Let's play this, and we'll come back and we'll talk.
Yeah, what we're looking at in the background is we're looking at the site for a women's centre, a centre that is funded by the EU. Now, what this centre is for, what it is designed for, is that they're going to bring people from what is known as the Protestant Unionist Shankill Road, along with people from the Nationalist Republican Falls Road, and they're going to bring them together on this site. Now, to people, that sounds as if that's a good idea. But the truth is,
what we need to do is give them some context. Just a few feet up that way is the divide wall, where during the Troubles, the Catholics were over that side, the Protestants are over this side. That side's massively populated at the moment, all right, and it's also the love child, I should say, of the EU, all right, and they can do no wrong. This side, not so populated. This could have been built as houses, but at the moment it's been built, and John will tell you the rest.
Yeah, well, I mean, just like many sites around the Protestant Unionist Shankill Road area, there are various sites which is undeveloped. Now, on the Nationalist Republican side, I mean, every space is built upon, and there are people which is filling the houses, and there has been a project over the years, Simon, to depopulate this area. And what actually happens here, the Shankill Road is known as the heartland of Ulster. It has always been the hotbed of Protestantism, unionism, loyalism here in Northern Ireland.
The fight to stay part of the United Kingdom.
Absolutely.
Against the wishes of the army over the side there.
The Nationalists and Republicans, yeah. So what they've done over the years is that they've depopulated the Shankill Road to such an extent that many Protestants, Unionists, Loyalists have moved away from the Shankill Road, and to the point whereby that the voting system now favours those with the most votes in this area. This area is known as West Belfast, and what you will get is that at each time where there's an election, you get then that there's Nationalist and Republican MPs, councillors in charge really of this area.
And the purpose is because they want to basically turn Ireland into a united Ireland under a socialist-ish government. Right, that's the dream they've been set, but it won't actually happen, because what they'll do is they'll go straight to the European Union, and God knows what happened then. The other thing to mention here is the women over that side they had a lot of skin in the game during the Troubles, right? They would come out, they would handle rifles, they would shift bombs around. Some of them, I mean, like Mairead Farrell, I believe it was, one of the IRA terrorists that got shot dead in Gibraltar. Not that she came necessarily from here, I'm not sure where she did come from, but she was very active, and many women were. And if you look in the prisons around Ireland during the 70s and the 80s, there were a lot more women from the Catholic side than there were from the Protestant side, because basically the men on the Protestant side said, we'll deal with this, you stay home. So when you say we're going to bring women in from a different part, from the Catholic part, they don't see any problem in that. Oh right, we're going to make friends. But there is a reason, because if you take women who aren't political, and then you take women who are extremely political, pretending to be their friends, you're going to turn these women very quickly to being, oh well, it's not a bad thing. But every inch, every piece of concrete that you give away to this powers that be, I mean, whether you want to say it's the government over here, or whether you want to say it's a bigger thing, and it's all part of a bigger picture, the more you do this, the more the battle's lost. And at the moment they're trying to give, I mean, Great Britain's trying to lose. Great Britain's being broken up. It's happening in Scotland, it's happening in Wales, and it's definitely happening here. And there's people like John here that are finding things like this out. This might not seem like a big deal to you, but generally speaking, it's a massive deal. Because what it'll do is it'll dilute the vote. It will dilute people's opinions till they become
We've all got a right to a birthright. We've all got a right to stand up for what it is that we believe in. In fact, in this diverse society, surely this society is diverse enough to accept me or you.
No, remember the stale bit. You're the only exception to the rule.
Right, okay, so steel, mail and pale doesn't count.
Get out. Yeah,
I'm away.
yeah, basically. So just to finish this off, right, this is literally nothing more than the ruining of our culture, the ruining of our history, the erosion in it by any means necessary, right? Just to recap this, we've got all the different people coming in that are being catered for, except the original people. And where there is a love for your country, where there's a love for your culture, or whatever, it has to be worked against. Now, unfortunately, people that side of the fence have been indoctrinated to believe that, say for instance, United Ireland under a socialist government would be a good thing, but they've been lied to. They've been lied to by their leaders. I mean, the likes of Jerry Adams, Martin McGuinness, and all the other shithouses, right, lied to their people. They're taking the money, right? This area, when you drive around, there's so many flags that are British. It's a lovely place to be. It's like going back to the 70s when we had an event celebrating either a jubilee or whatever. It's great, right? It makes you feel good. It's like recharging your batteries if you love your country. However, all of that has to be undone, and it is slowly being undone. Now, the point being, this may be a small thing to you, but this is just one step in losing Northern Ireland. Now, if we lose Northern Ireland, that's it. It's game over for us. We've lost Scotland, we've lost Wales, and then there will just be little old England on its own trying to fend off Big Brother. It ain't gonna happen. So this is why this is important. Anyway, I'm gonna bring you lots more like this weekend. And sorry about the sound quality, but this was very last minute, and we had problems with the camera, and that's a building site. But there you go, it's for free. What can you say? Anyway, I'll catch you in a bit. There it is.
So what you'll have seen there is you'll have seen myself and Simon outside a proposed women's centre on Lanark Way in just off the Shankill Road in Belfast. Now, to give a bit of context, there are posters, there are billboards around the Shankill showing that how the entire area has been underdeveloped in such a way that people are crying out for houses. And yet this place, which could be a place for where houses, much needed houses, could go, there is a women's centre. Now, I'm going to asking people to listen and listen very, very carefully. And this is also to the women that would be intentionally be going to occupy that new women's centre when it comes together. Hear me out. This is being funded by, well, the research tells me the EU. The research tells me also that it's being funded by one of those funds from the Irish Department of Foreign Affairs. You know, remember what it suggested in the Irish Department's document that was released from the National Archives that we showed at the start of this screen. That what they are trying to do is that they are trying to divide people, divide political parties. They are trying, you know, their G2, their military intelligence, Irish military intelligence, they are involved in a process of dividing constitutional unionism from non-constitutional unionism. Now, and again, this isn't an attack on the people that would go to that women's centre. And I'm sure that when people go to that women's centre, they will be catered for and looked after in a very, very nice way. But you see, you've got to try to understand what is at play. What is at play? Who's funding that? Who is putting that into place? And what is their intentions whenever they put that in place? I'm listening to the radio, and I want people to listen very carefully. And there is one more video which is probably going to be even more controversial once I finish talking about this situation. But I remember listening to the radio not too long ago, and we've been preparing this stream for a very, very long time. And listening to the radio, I hear that there was a couple of groups, ladies groups from the Protestant Unionist Loyalist side of the fence. And what they were doing is that they were going to Fela and Fubble. And the ladies were on the radio and they were talking, to the radio presenter. And they were saying that they really like going to the women's group and it's cross community. And they were saying that, we don't understand politics. We don't understand anything about the protocol. We don't know what these big words in politics means, but it's great. Because when you go along to these places, there's experts that are there to explain everything for you. But this is a question. This is a real question. What if those experts did not have your best interests at heart? What if those experts were there to help manipulate and cause divisions? What if those experts were members of G2, Irish Military Intelligence? What if those experts were trying to divide constitutional unionism, as in their Irish Department for Foreign Affairs document? What if they were trying to divide constitutional unionism from non-constitutional unionism? Well, I'm going to say, you see, that Women's Centre, which is going to bring together a group from the Clonard area, which is associated with Spike Murray, from my recollection, that top IRA man. Him that was accused of bringing guns from America and get off with it and so on, a well-established figure in the IRA. So the Clonard are coming together with people in the Shankill. And what if that the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs, using the subsidiary G2 Military Intelligence, is there to try to explain what the protocol means? It doesn't mean a thing. There's no border. There's no constitutional change. You're still fully member. I'm just trying to give what could happen in that place. Now we're going to move on, and we're going to move on to something even more, I'm going to say, controversial now. And again, I have to state this. I have to say this very, very carefully, is that if you have tuned into this stream at a later stage, I'm asking you to go back and to watch and to understand what it was that we presented. What I hoped that we did was we took you on a journey, showing you some documents from the Irish government's archives, showing you what it was that G2 Military Intelligence, Department for Foreign Affairs, is involved in Northern Ireland, showing you that they were trying to manipulate the outcomes of elections, cause divisions with unionist political parties, and to divide constitutional and non-constitutional unionism. That's what they've been doing. And it just so happens that the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs, under one of their subsidiary names, is pouring huge amounts of money into that Women's Centre. Now, I'm going to move on, and we're going to move to the next stage. And I hope that you find this informative. I hope that I laugh, I speak. Listen, I'm going to say this in a very, very serious manner. I love Northern Ireland. I love being part of the United Kingdom. I'm British. I have a British birthright. I've been known to push the boundaries in standing up for my unionism, my birthright, my Britishness. And no one, I mean no one, is ever going to take that away from me. Well, not without a fight. And you can see that that's the type of thing that we are involved in. And, speaking at different events around the country, whenever we're talking and telling people and showing people what it is that's happening, we use words like, and we mean this from the bottom of our hearts, that what we want to do is that we want to put an army of people together with weapons of words. And as a man would have said to me, a very well-respected man, and the only bullets that we'll use is bullet points. We need to be able to use weapons of words to stand up for ourselves, to point out that these things are happening right in plain sight, that perhaps people from within our community has been, I'm going to say, swindled, conned, have accepted the shackles from the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs, and in a way, well, that those that accept those shackles are ultimately bound by those very same shackles So again, that's a little disclaimer. I mean no harm to any unionist, but I feel that sometimes some things are worth pointing out. Sometimes some things are worth standing up for. And if that gets me in trouble, so be it. On to the next video.
In the book around misogynistic behaviours, domestic violence, they're still all very prevalent within today's society. And as the advisory committee with Her Loyal Voice, the project, we really wanted to make sure that we were getting forward the stories of women who, as you've said in your introduction, women aren't really heard, especially within the male-dominated political landscape in Northern Ireland, but especially loyalist voices of women. They're often just sidelined.
So I want to give a bit of context here. Right. Recently, on the airwaves, the mainstream media, we hear of a book from a group called Her Loyal Voice. And the book, as you'll see on the side of the screen here, and make it bigger, is a book called Unheard Voices. And, you know, exactly as that lady would have described it, well, what she said was that well, what we want to do is that with the women in loyalism in the past, they haven't been heard. It's always male voices. And we're wanting to give voices to women. And we're doing this stream in tandem with the women's group that you just seen there, funded by the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs. And we pose the question, will G2, Irish Military Intelligence, be involved in that centre trying to literally manipulate the minds of women from within our community? And I'm going to say it is completely possible. In fact, it is probably a foregone conclusion that that's exactly what will be happening from within that women's centre. Now, they are going to call me misogynistic. They are going to say that I am, I don't know, coercive controller. Who knows what they're going to call me? I'm just using the buzzwords which is used the Western world wide today whenever you try to stand up for what it is that you believe in. And, you know, I'm going to say something. You know, women's group, why not a group that would be placed on the peace line for anyone to go to? Why does it have to be these divisions? Why does it have to be feminism? You know, why does it have to be what's being promoted right now, toxic masculinity? Why does it have to be, in the words of Naomi Long from the Alliance Party, stale, male and pale? Take, for example, Kanye West at the minute, it's in the media. Well, what did he say? There were two black people, Kanye West and Candace Owens from America, two black people who wore t-shirts saying white lives matter. And right now, Kanye West is being railroaded out of society. He's being cancelled everywhere because that it is that he decides to stand against the American-driven liberal hegemony, because that's exactly what it is. It's America trying to make the world in their bunker's image. So back to this book, and I had to explain that for a reason, is that we had a lady there saying that that she wanted to create a book which would tell the stories of women in loyalism. Now, I'm going to say that would be a great thing. That would be absolutely marvelous if this was told in a really, really good way. I would be championing it. I would be, you know, promoting it. That's what we would be doing, because we have nothing against women in loyalism. But now what I want to try to show you is that what actually is being promoted from this group, Her Loyal Voice. Now, I know there are people that are associated with this group who might not like what it is that John Yates is saying, but I'm appealing to your better nature to help you understand, if you don't already understand, is that what is being promoted is not a loyal voice. When I think of Her Loyal Voice, what do I think of? I think of that behind every good man, there's a better woman. You know, things like, you know, the wind beneath my wings. This is what I think of, her loyal voice, that the women within loyalism were behind their men, that got behind their men, that stood behind their men, and were the backbone, the absolute backbone of the society from which they came. You know, this is what I think whenever I hear that. Now, let you listen to what it was that the mainstream media were promoting as a result of this book, Her Loyal Voice. And before I play this, now this isn't a disclaimer. This is a question for those from within loyalism. Who was it that agreed this book? Who was it that approved this book? Do you ever hear about shooting your foot off? Do you ever hear about taking your legs off? Do you ever hear about, you know, blowing your legs completely off? Because this is what this book and what it was that was being promoted in the media actually done. It wasn't, you know, the wind beneath my wings. Behind every good man, there's a good woman. You know, the women were the backbone of loyalism from within society, and there were many good women. I came from the Shankill Road, and I can tell you with my hand on my heart, there were many, many, many good women from the Shankill Road that would have been more furious and ferocious and dedicated than the men when it came to standing up for their community and their country. But now listen to what it is that this book was promoting. Let's play on.
Unfortunately, I married somebody that ruined my whole life. One Sunday evening, my husband said he was going out to play darts. Little did I know that he was actually going to a UDA meeting. I stuck by him for 14 years, and we were constantly moving home. It even got to the stage that I was followed if I was getting the bus. They were watching where I was going. It was the UDA following because I'd been identified as a target by the IRA. I just couldn't understand it because I'd done nothing. During this time, I wasn't a person. I just existed. I had to keep going for the kids. I was just going through the motions. I had to keep my children safe. No matter what my husband was doing, I was implicated in everything. I was blinded to everything. It was so careful and sneaky. My family and friends fell out with me. Looking back, I can understand where my family were coming from, accusing me of being a top woman in the UDA. I can see that now because of what I was doing, but I was just going through the motions. This went on for years. This one morning I got up, I was so fed up. I'd realised I'd never had a good home because the police destroyed everything I had. You see, my husband had also been having affairs. He was also controlling me. It was coercive control and financial control. I never got a penny because everything went into his bank account. He was also hitting me. I went to the UDA about it, but they didn't help. I also went to the police. They told me they had a feeling that he was going to kill me. A lot of people told me to walk away. It was difficult because I was going through the motions. The domestic violence had got really bad. I was put in a cubbyhole under the stairs, kept there until my children were coming home from school. I was his wife, but I was also a slave. I had to do what I had to do, cook, clean, and then in the cubbyhole again. I've had cups thrown at my head. Then drugs started coming in, and I was so scared for my children. I took the decision to walk away.
The book that's taken from is called Unheard Voices, Stories of Loyalist Women Growing Up in Northern Ireland. And it's been produced by the group Her Loyal Voice.
Forgive me for saying, Her Loyal Voice. If that lady has went through all of those things, you've only got to be sympathetic towards what has happened. And who couldn't be sympathetic? But, the media, the mainstream media, they do enough in attacking unionism, Protestant unionism and loyalism. They do enough in attacking that day in and day out. And I just wonder who that it was that would have agreed to put that voice in a book which is put forward by her loyal voice. Should that not have been showing that, again, I say, the wind beneath my wings, behind every good man, there was a better woman. The women were the backbone of society. You know, what that is that is an own goal. That is taking the legs off, you know, from below the waist. You know, I can't believe, and you know, and now let me dig into this, let me scratch into this even a bit further here. Let me try to let you understand, well, why this book exists and who that it was that contributed to this book. I mean, is it only a small section of ideologues that contributed to this book? Unheard voices from within so-called loyalism. Is her loyal voice, is it occupied by progressives, by woke, by those that, well, might not be in the terminology that the G2, the Irish military intelligence, would use when they say that they were seeking to divide constitutional unionism from non-constitutional unionism? Well, would these people be determined as or designated as unconstitutional unionists? All I'm saying here, people, is that this is meant to be her loyal voice, and that was a complete and utter takedown of the men from within loyalism. And this is what you hear me saying in terms of, well, Naomi Long would say that John Yates here is stale, male, and pale. That is stale, but that is ageism. Male, which is sexism, and pale is racism, all in one sentence. And you know, and further to that, that would be misandry, the opposite of misogyny. But this is what seems to be being promoted from within this grouping and this book. Now I'm going to play on here, and I'm going to come back, and we're going to finish up, and we're going to talk, and we're going to ask people, because the numbers are still hugely high, to share this stream out, to tag people into the live chat, to give us a like, to give us a love, to give us a share, and, well, to listen and learn this lesson very, very well. If unionism is ever going to come together, I'm going to say that it's never going to be coming together whilst the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs, whilst the G2, the military intelligence of the Irish state, is manipulating things here in Northern Ireland. Not just manipulating, but funding things. Now, I want to bring the screen up a wee bit closer here so that I can let you see, and so that we can read who that it is that has actually funded this book. So it says here, her loyal voice does brilliant work. This was Amanda Ferguson, a journalist who is less than a friend of unionism, of Britishness here in Northern Ireland. Well, she wrote that her loyal voice does brilliant work, amplifying loyalist women voices. So I was delighted to be sent Unheard Voices, stories of loyalist women growing up in Northern Ireland. Now, listen very carefully. The new book, supported by she omits to say that it was the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs. She omits to say the word Irish, and I've seen this before. We've noticed a pattern of people who are omitting to say that it is Irish, and I think that they're being told not to say that it's Irish Department for Foreign Affairs. So it says, the new book supported by the DFA's Reconciliation Fund. So it was supported, it was funded by the Department for Foreign Affairs Reconciliation Fund. Now, I'm now going to say that if you go to Google, and you do Google, and you type in the Department for Foreign Affairs Reconciliation Fund, it'll take you straight to the oireachtas.ie, which will show you that this is being funded by the Department for Foreign Affairs, Irish Department for Foreign Affairs Reconciliation Fund. So here we have the circumstances in where that unheard voices who are attached to her loyal voice are promoting the takedown of men from within loyalism. Now, you'll see Alison Morris at the bottom of this picture at the side. And when you see Alison Morris is also no friend of unionism. Alison Morris would love to see a united so-called New Ireland tomorrow. Alison Morris would love to see the breakup of the United Kingdom. Now, Alison Morris doesn't have to tell me that. This is my assumption of what it is that's in this lady's head. And I have arrived at a considered opinion, and I'm covering myself here with what it is that I've seen Alison Morris do over the years. Now, I'm now going to play on, and Alison Morris is going to divulge even further for us how deep that this actually goes. Now, to the people that are involved in Unheard Voices, to the people that are involved in her loyal voice, are you sure that you realize what you're doing? Who was it that agreed to put that takedown of men from within loyalism, using all the media slander that normally comes, where they're saying that all loyalists are drug dealers, all loyalists are coercive controllers, they're misogynists. You heard that lady saying that he locked me under the stairs and he brought me out whenever the kids came back. You know, that was a painting of a top UDA man as an animal, an absolute animal, and in a way that people do not differentiate. Her loyal voice should not have been controlled in a way. If you were managing the communications from within that place, should not have been done in a way that, well, the women, showing the good stories, the women were the backbone, the women were the wind beneath the wings of the men, the women were, were homemakers, whilst the people, the men went out and participated in whatever, fighting for their country. I'm only saying here, people, that this is sinister. And if the people that put this together don't realize that they were involved in a sinister plot to take down men from within loyalism, to tarnish, to taint, to paint loyalism as something really, really bad, if they don't understand that, well, maybe they shouldn't be involved in putting anything out. Who agreed this? Let's finish off with Alison Morris telling you some more of this story.
Alison Morris, the Belfast Telegraph's crime correspondent, you're also involved in the project.
Yeah, well, I did the forward of it. People like Emma obviously did the hard work and the hard job.
So Alison Morris was involved in the project, this Unheard Voices, her loyal voice, in where the story that was told on the media was a takedown of men, quote unquote, men, stale, male and pale men from within loyalism, funded by the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs. Let's play on and let's listen to more which Alison Morris divulges. So she wrote the foreword to the book. She promoted the book. Now, whenever I knew that Alison Morris was involved in it, I knew that Amanda Ferguson would be a cheerleader. So I type into Google Unheard Voices, and I type in Amanda Ferguson, and it comes up. Well, she told us, we didn't know, but she told us that it was funded by the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs' Reconciliation Fund. So let's play on and let's listen to what Alison Morris had to say.
Yeah, and I do agree, and it's about getting out and talking to people and understanding them. Journalism isn't a job that can be done from behind a desk. You need to get out, you need to go into communities, and you need to speak to women and young people and all of that. And I quickly just say, if you read the stories, what you'll also find is almost every one of these women describes themselves as feminist, which is...
What did Alison Morris just say there? If you read the book, if you listen to the stories, almost every one of these women describe themselves as feminists. Dawn Purvis, who remembers what she did to the PUP in leaving? Trashed them, completely trashed them. Julianne Cord Johnson left the PUP, the loyalist PUP, and went to the Ulster Unionist Party. Ruth Kerr, is that the name? Who I am informed has been running the Ulster Unionist Party since the days of Mike Nesbitt. And when I asked the question from within the Ulster Unionist Party, my sources tell me, I say, is Ruth Kerr as bad as, say, Doug Beattie is with his woke agenda and his promotion of all things divisive and, identity politics and everything else? Well, I'm told that Ruth Kerr is far worse than Doug Beattie could ever be. This is what I'm told from my sources from within the Ulster Unionist Party. So these are the type of people, a small number of people that were involved in this book, that were funded by the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs, that are doing it under the banner of Unheard Voices, Her Loyal Voice, and who were no matter why they like it or not, they were participating in a takedown of men from within loyalism. And here we have Alison Myers telling us that they were feminists. Anyway.
Completely out of step from what we hear when we hear male unionist politicians who are almost still entirely very socially conservative and sort of almost religiously fundamentalist. And so you can see that the women.
So male people from within unionism are conservative. They're religious fundamentalists, and what she goes on to say there, and I cut that off, was that the men within unionism, the women, those women who were feminists, who were taking down the men within our society, who were funded by the Irish Department for Foreign Affairs, who may be being manipulated by G2, the Spooks, the military intelligence from within the Irish government, because they're being funded by that source. Who knows who's talking to them? Who knows who's manipulating them? Have they been divided in a way, as in their own document, that constitutional unionism would be divided from non-constitutional unionism? Are they reaching out because that Ireland, in this so-called New Ireland, would be a 32-county socialist republic? Who remembers a girl called Sophie Long, where she wished her comrades, or Martin McGuinness's comrades, she wished them, and this is me paraphrasing, she gave them condolences, to Martin McGuinness's comrades on the death of their leader. That was somebody who had lost the plot. That is someone who does not know unionism from republicanism, who does not know, I'm not even going to go there. Look, I think that we've done enough. I think I'm getting to the end of the stream. It's been on for almost 2 hours. I hope that you enjoyed that expose. I'm going to ask people, and we're going to be playing this out with something. And anyway, I'm going to say this because of who that it is that we've exposed, because of who that it is that we've talked about, because of who that it is that we're appealing to. I'm going to say this, is that I have no desire to commit suicide. I have no desire to be found dead somewhere or have a heart attack or anything else. All I'm saying is that we're exposing things that no one else is exposing, and I'm just saying is that the real fight goes on. The weapons of words will continue to be used from here at Restore UK. We'll continue to expose things. We'll continue to speak the truth when no one else will. We are, as you know, we are taking people to, taking Boris Johnson to court. Well, it's now Rishi Sunak to court. We were hoping that Boris Johnson was going to be back in again. We'll be at the Supreme Court on the 30th, on the 30th of November, 1st of December, and we're asking people that if you can help our work, there's a PayPal link on the YouTube channel. There's a PayPal link on the British Unionist People's Voice on Facebook. And there's a PayPal link on the Restore UK channel. And I'll pop up onto the Twitter channel a PayPal link. If you can help our work, if you can help, provide a fight back in a meaningful, proactive way, in a way that would defend, protect, and enhance British unionism, if you can help Restore UK and do that, it is that, no one else within unionism is doing right now without getting into things. If you can help us, please do. We won't let you down. Well, you either give up, you give in, or you give it all you've got. And I know the option that Restore UK will be taking. We're going to give it all that we've got. I'm hoping that people from within our own community understands what it is that's being manipulated into place, who that it is that's manipulating those things into place, and how dangerous it is for it to take the shackles, and in a way that you could ultimately be ending up bound by those very shackles that you've taken. So I'm going to find something to play us out. We've came to the end of the stream. It has been quite tiring, I have to say, presenting that. I hope that the stream stayed in a way that you could actually see it. And, support our work. Ask your nearest and dearest to come and join with us at Restore UK. And, well, I'm going to play something. I'm going to play something that needs to be played. I have to say, the stream has remained hugely high, extremely high this evening. People, thanks very much for coming along. Listen to the words of this, and then we'll be playing us out straight after this with something that's going to put a smile on everyone's face. I know that there's nothing to be smiled about. Well, if we've anything to do with it, everyone's going to know exactly what's happening. Good night, people. See you all again very soon. Right, people have... Sorry, people. I'm tired. Wrong thing. Here we go again. I can't help but wonder why so many people, they had to die for being British in our own land, murdered by cowards with their evil hand. The IRA crept back to their bed after leaving so many people dead. A soldier, a cop, a father, a son, a woman, a child, just anyone. But the Unionist people, they did not lie down, fought and defended the Red Hand and the Crown. We stood proud, ready and able. The IRA cried to come to the table. The Belfast Agreement, it was a disguise. It was built for appeasement, swindle and lies. The peace is a farce, the guns are still there, and London's afraid of another bomb scare. Appeasement after appeasement, day after day, provos in government still getting their way, and our two big parties, well, what can I say? They are sitting in Stormont with the IRA, not listening to the people who put them in place. They ask for support, then they lie to your face. A united Unionist party, some say we need, but there's too much corruption, lies and greed. I can't help but wonder why so many people, they had to die for being British in our own land. You can never shake a terrorist's hand. Think of our country, the Red Hand on the Crown. Listen to the people, stop letting us down. Our leaders have blown the chance to make things right. The whole of unionism, I mean the people, we must unite. So we reach out again with offer of partnership. No time for politicians hell-bent on dictatorship. No puppets, no lackeys, our people deserve better. We will not be sucked in with promises in letter. Meaningful and proactive is the only game in town. We long for a day when politicians stop letting us down. You have one more chance at putting things right. But this time we demand that you stick to the fight. A roadmap must be drawn, agreed by everyone. No hierarchy, no pulling rank is exactly what must be done. An army of people must be put together with weapons of words, which will remain and abide forever. United we stand, divided we most definitely fall.
I looked outside. What did I see? A little bird. He looked at me. I lured him close. With a piece of bread. And then I smashed. His little head. The moral of the story is. You want some head. You need some bread. Right turn. Huh. did I see? What did I see? A little bird. A little bird. He looked at me. He looked at me. I lured him close. I lured him close. With a piece of bread. With a piece of bread. And then I smashed. And then I smashed his little head. His little